Hello, and welcome to this video where we are going to rank memorable villains. Do you know the feeling when you kind of want the bad guy to win? Even though he did bad things and is, the villain? We all were there, and there is no shame in it. Everybody likes a good villain. With further ado, let's dive into it. Number 10 on our list holds General Kirigan, known as the Darkling in Shadow and Bone. He is the general of the Second Army formed by Grisha, which are powerful human beings gifted with abilities which range from healing to controlling fire and water, bending materials, and more. Kirigan is by far the most powerful of them because he is a shadow summoner. When the story begins, Kirigan is shown as a hero himself, working to destroy the Shadow Fold, which is dividing the kingdom of Ravka and posing a threat to its people. But soon it's discovered that the fold was created a long time ago by none other than Kirigan himself in a tragic series of events, which originate from the hatred of Grisha by ordinary people. Unlike traditional villains who operate solely out of greed or malice, he seeks to protect his people from the dangers of the world, believing that power is necessary to reshape it for their benefit. His tragic backstory, charismatic presence, and his power, which is often displayed in the show, makes him a truly remarkable villain to cheer for. Number 9 of our list goes to Captain Barbossa from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Once the first officer on Captain Jack Sparrow's ship, the Black Pearl, he mutinied against Jack and left him to die on a deserted island. In a series of events, Barbossa was defeated and killed by Jack and his allies, but Barbossa was resurrected by the goddess of the sea. Subsequently, Barbossa was no longer the enemy of Jack, although they maintain a funny rivalry, which makes the franchise even more entertaining. Barbossa, initially the villain, later transformed into a not entirely bad character, and in the end died a good friend and ally to Jack, which is why we love him and why he deserves a spot on this list and video. Magneto from the X-Men franchise holds the 8th spot on our list. He is a master of magnetism and a fierce advocate for mutant rights. His traumatic past as a Holocaust survivor fuels his unwavering belief in mutant supremacy, driving him to extreme measures to protect his kind. While his methods are often ruthless, his motivations are understandable, making him a morally gray character who challenges the traditional boundaries of hero and villain. Magneto's unwavering conviction, coupled with his immense power, makes him a formidable adversary. Forever locked in a battle with his former friend, Professor X, Magneto's character arc is complex and ever-evolving. While often portrayed as a villain, he has also worked alongside the X-Men, demonstrating a desire for peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. This duality, fueled by his traumatic past and unwavering belief in mutant supremacy, makes him a fascinating and morally ambiguous figure. The 7th place is held by Grand Admiral Thrawn from Star Wars. As an alien, he had risen to the highest imperial rank of the Navy, the Grand Admiral, despite the xenophobic nature of the Galactic Empire. A strategic genius, known for his unique ways to achieve victory, studying his enemies from their culture's history, philosophy, and art, he is probably the only commander who was never outsmarted in battle. As a villain, he never did anything out of malice or cruelty, always fighting with honor and respecting his enemies. In the Legends timeline, he almost defeated the New Republic forces in the final battle at Bulbringi, but is unfortunately slain by his own bodyguard. Without him, his forces shortly after collapsed and were defeated. In the canon timeline, his story hasn't reached its end, but we all hope Disney does him well. It is this combination of strategic brilliance, cultural understanding, and moral complexity that makes Thrawn a fan favorite. He is a villain who is both feared by his enemies and admired by his subordinates, a testament to the power of a well-written antagonist.
Long live the Empire.
6th place goes to the Jew Hunter himself, which is the nickname given to Hans Landa from the Tarantino film Inglorious Bastard. Hans is a Nazi colonel which is tasked to locate and eliminate any surviving Jews in occupied France, a task he does with perfection.
Emmanuel, voici le colonel SS Landa. Il sera chargé de la sécurité pour la première.
Enchanté, mademoiselle.
Landa's ability to manipulate and deceive his victims is unparalleled. With a seemingly effortless charm and a sharp wit, he can turn a tense situation into a casual conversation, all while gathering crucial information. His meticulous attention to detail and his uncanny ability to read people allow him to outsmart even the most cunning opponents. Beyond his great manners, polished exterior, and intellectual behavior lies the personality of a ruthless killer, which makes him a perfect villain that we love. In the movie, he uncovers the plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler. However, he doesn't spoil it, but uses it as an advantage for himself to negotiate his rehabilitation as a war criminal. After his immunity is granted, he finalizes the plot himself, which results in the death of Hitler. Hans Landa is a complex character, and his undeniable charisma elevates him beyond a mere one-dimensional villain. The fifth place is held by the only animated villain on this list, which is the character of Death, portrayed by a scythe-wielding wolf in the movie Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. He hasn't got a name, he is neither good or bad, he is just Death. Puss initially mistakes the wolf for a bounty hunter, and only after the realization that he met Death himself, he begins to understand the deeper meaning of his relentless pursuit of him and begins to question his life's choices. In the movie, the wolf is the consequence of Puss's reckless loss of his 8 lives, living and behaving arrogantly, even saying that he laughs in the face of death. So Death decides to collect Puss's last life himself. By confronting his mortality, Puss becomes a better version of himself, and after the last fight with Death, Puss proves his change of character, and Death decides to spare him, saying he doesn't see the arrogant little legend that he saw before. By watching the film, we realize that Death wasn't a simple antagonist. He doesn't take part in the main story and only pursues Puss. We also can see that he isn't affected by the magic of the Last Wish like everybody else. Throughout the movie, every time the wolf appears, he does so with a sinister whistle, which sends a chill down one's spine, and the reaction of Puss tells us how much he fears him. By tapping into the universal fear of death, the wolf becomes a timeless and terrifying antagonist, making him a crucial catalyst for the movie's emotional journey. Nearing the finale, the first wizard of the Harry Potter franchise appears. Fourth place is held by Gellert Grindelwald, a charismatic and manipulative dark wizard. Once a promising young wizard and friend to Albus Dumbledore, Grindelwald's dark ambitions led him down a destructive path. His vision of a world ruled by wizards, free from the oppression of muggles, initially seemed noble. However, his true intentions were far more sinister. Grindelwald sought absolute power, using fear and manipulation to gain followers and amass an army. His ability to twist words and exploit people's vulnerabilities made him a dangerous and persuasive leader. In comparison to Voldemort, another dark wizard, who was a villain we probably never liked and wanted him defeated, Grindelwald is a more charismatic and complex villain. His methods are more subtle and noble, which makes him a pretty likable villain. Grindelwald is also immensely powerful, taking on several Aurors in battles and standing against Dumbledore, showing of extraordinary magic. He is a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of standing up to injustice. Spot number 3 is held by the Asgardian god of mischief, Loki. He is one of the most beloved characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Initially portrayed as a cunning and manipulative villain, Loki's complex character and compelling backstory have made him a fan favorite. Loki was born to the king of the Frostgate on the planet Jotunheim and later adopted and raised by Odin himself. Loki betrayed his brother Thor in the first movie and tries to become king of Asgard. His plan is disrupted by Thor, and Loki is defeated. In the subsequent films, he redeems himself and even joins his brother in the fight of various enemies. His relationship with Thor leads to many funny moments throughout the films.
I have been falling
For 30 minutes!
Who are you? Loki. You think you're some kind of sorcerer?
Loki's charm, wit, and constant pursuit of power and recognition have always been captivating. His ability to deceive and outsmart his opponents, combined with his tragic motivations, makes him a fascinating antagonist. Over time, Loki has undergone a significant character arc, evolving from a villain to an anti-hero and, ultimately, a hero. Loki's transformation highlights the complexity of human nature and the potential for growth and change. Second place is held by another wizard from the Harry Potterverse, Severus Snape, the alleged Dark Wizard and former Death Eater that later played a major part in saving the wizarding world from Voldemort. Snape is throughout the films displayed as an unemotional, cold, unpleasant, and dark character who doesn't like anyone. He is particularly being harsh towards Harry Potter and his friends. In The Deathly Hallows, we can for the first time look into his backstory and true character and see that he is just a heartbroken man that lost everything when the love of his life was killed. Since the first defeat of Voldemort, he disguised himself as a dark wizard and fooled Voldemort into believing him, ultimately providing the last piece of wisdom to Harry, which causes Voldemort's ultimate defeat. He died in the hands of Harry Potter, saying to him, "You have your mother's eyes," which is something Harry heard constantly, but never before with so much meaning and understanding. The Harry Potterverse's strongest force was always love, and the heartbreaking love story between Severus and Lily is the most significant and tragic of all. He loved her so much that his Patronus took form of a doe, the same as Lily's, which is the only instant this happened in the stories. Severus Snape is probably the most tragic and misunderstood character of all. We got introduced to him as a bittered, unemotional, and villainous person, which is a constant thorn in Harry's sight. Only after learning his true motives, we get to understand his sad but important part in the saga, making him one of the best characters and an unfortunate villain.
Look at me. You have your mother's eyes.
On the villain throne sits the Dark Lord himself, the subject of the prophecy of the Chosen One, the supreme commander and the main enforcer of the Galactic Empire, the master of the Order of the Inquisitorius, the commander of Death Squadron, and arguably the best starfighter pilot in the galaxy, Darth Vader. Born as Anakin Skywalker, a gifted Jedi Knight, Vader's life took a tragic turn. His love for Padme, his secret wife, led to his ultimate downfall. Haunted by visions of Padme dying, he tried to prevent it and pledged himself as a pupil to the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Sidious, as he promised to save her. In a tragic set of events, or by design and manipulation from Sidious, Padme with her awaited children died anyway, and Anakin succumbed to grief. His betrayal led to the downfall of the Jedi Order along with the Republic, and the rise of a new galactic order, the Empire. Darth Vader served the order he created, hunting surviving Jedi and carrying out his master's will on the galaxy, becoming the most feared enforcer of the Galactic Empire. However, beneath the mask of the ruthless Sith Lord, there remained a glimmer of the heroic Anakin Skywalker, his love for his children, Luke and Leia, whose survival he discovered, ultimately led to his redemption and his return to the light side of the Force, when he killed the Emperor and saved Luke. He is probably the most badass Star Wars character, defeating countless opponents, with scenes like the hallway scene in Rogue One or the fight with Caleb Doom and Ezra Bridger in Rebels, leaving us astonished of his power and Force mastery. The last scene, where he appears as a Force ghost besides his former friends Obi-Wan and Yoda, leave the audience with tears of joy and closes one of the best hero-villain stories we ever got. His well-written character combined with his stunning appearance and skill, making him probably the most loved villain in the cinematic history. In conclusion, we've explored a variety of villains, from the tragic and complex to the outright evil. We've also seen villains who are redeemed through love, sacrifice, or a change of heart. Whether they're loved for their charisma, their tragic backstories, or their sheer villainy, these characters have left an enduring impact on popular culture. If you have your own favorite villain or disagree with my list, feel free to explain in the comments. I will happily argue or agree with you. Do you have a villain you love that we haven't mentioned? Let us know. With that, I say farewell and hope to see you in the next video.